All right, welcome to the call, everybody. We're excited to have people from all over the country and really some international folks joining in, which is great. We have an exciting hour to spend with you. We're going to talk about digital transformation, trends in the new economy. Look, we all are very aware of the situation that's going on. Today, we're going to cover some very important best practices that we're seeing, not only in the data trends, but in real life trends from interaction with our clients and our sales partners around the country. Next slide. Oh man, look at that picture. Did someone take that with like a fisheye lens? Really, we got to change that picture. It looks like I could like chop down a tree with my teeth. My teeth, I don't think are really that big, guys. I don't know. Anyway, someone once told me people should be surprised on the upside with a picture. So maybe I'll just use the bad headshot. Let's go to the agenda and get off that slide as fast as possible, Bobby. All right, agenda for today. Who is AppSmart? Really important for those of you just joining the AppSmart family or just becoming acquainted through either a LinkedIn invite or an invite from one of our team to know a little bit about AppSmart. We'll touch on that real quick. We'll talk about the data, depending on which part of the country you were born and raised in. Real salient points there, some best practices like I mentioned at the top of the call, so you get a feel for what we're seeing not only from our panel of experts, from our advisors out in the field, from our solution providers, and also the end user customers. There's some really amazing things you need to know about. We're going to cover that. Evolution of digital support channels in the current work environment with Daniel Sachs, our co-CEO at AppDirect, and then Warren Leviton from Zendesk. Great insights from those guys. They're going to have a virtual fireside chat, which will be great. And then we'll cover some unique solutions that are selling today in real time, things that you can take that are actionable, you can put into practice immediately after this call. All right, next slide, into the good one. All right, so who is AppSmart? For many of you, you know who we are. For those of you who don't, we're the world's largest B2B marketplace for selling digital reoccurring services. So what does that all mean? Well, really, if you look at those logos, that's just a handful of logos that we have available in our marketplace for you as independent business owners, value-added resellers, consultants. We really strive to have the most comprehensive product portfolio for what we call essential business services. Go ahead and go to the next slide and we can get into that a little bit. So as this slide fills up, we deem these services essential business services. They're really everything that happens at a business from the time they flip on the lights in the morning, whether that's at their headquarters or their home office. That can be connectivity, security, telephone and internet services, mobility, mobile device management, even energy as a service. So we have very unique opportunity for sales partners to earn commission, receive sales support, commission support, or really a full back office as a service for your business, whether that's quoting or contract handling, updating a status of orders, even project management. And those services also then extend to your clients as much or as little as you want to. For example, if you were to sell a complex solution, there's the fireside chat. Didn't think I was paying attention. All right. Services for your clients. So as your clients come on board, maybe you don't have the capacity to project manage or manage a migration and implementation of a software solution or infrastructure as a service solution. That's where AppSmart back office services can also help implement those services for your clients and add value to your business. If you're experienced and you just need a place where all the available providers are in a single pane of glass, then that's also available to you. One unique point I also want to mention before we go to the next slide is as you advance with AppSmart and as your customers come on board to AppSmart, all the applications that they purchase from us are available on a single pane of glass in our marketplace. They can see utilization, they can see the apps they have, they can shop for other apps, and all those events become commissionable events to you and customer satisfiers to your end user clients. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So I made a little joke at this at the top of the call, follow the data or data. Hey, tomato, tomato, doesn't matter. The numbers are the numbers. I want to show you some interesting numbers that we've seen, especially over the past couple of weeks, but also that our partners are digging into that really are breeding some tremendous opportunity to exceed our client expectations. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. All right, so at the top left, most of you guys understand web conferencing and collaboration tools. Someone told me, hey, Tim, those are just table stakes. we know people are buying those services. But if you look in that blue box, the software as a service box, we're seeing more and more activity through our team, our sales desk, our channel managers out in the field around those services. So remote desktop tools, security, learning management, time tracking, telemedicine, really big push in those areas. In some cases, we've even heard, I was on a call with an end user, and the C-suite team was on there, and they were talking about how they were going to deploy a very complex solution. And somebody said this was the best test they've ever had, the best proof of concept they've ever had, because everyone was forced to comply with the proof of concept. And what was amazing is some of the folks who were hesitant adopters became rabid adopters. So I encourage you, as we go through this presentation, to make notes about the folks that maybe you haven't contacted, maybe the ones that you contacted and were a little bit hesitant. Stay with them, be of service to them, guide them down a path to some of these services where they may have been slow to adopt. We're now seeing very rapid adoption, and it comes through the expertise that you guys offer to end user clients in the field. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. All right, big number here, 87% of increased spenders expect they will still be using and paying for work from home tools 2 years from now. Look, we're all having these conversations that this shift has caused a shift forevermore. Certainly some things will go back to almost normal, but I can tell you another conversation I had just this morning. We have an advisor with a company, one of their clients has 20,000 employees, and they're doing real-time surveys of the 20,000 employees, finding out who wants to go back in the office and who wants more enablement at home. That's a great proof point. Think about that, 20,000 employees. If it's happened to 20,000 employees, it's happening with 6 employees. So make sure that you're thinking not just about today and the change that's happened, but that this change is going to be around for a long time, and we need to all be positioned to take advantage of that in the right way to serve our clients. Go ahead and advance. So we want to share some Google Trends with you. I don't want to get too deep into this data, but I think it's really important to understand the scale that you're looking at. It's a simple scale from 1 to 100, and it covers a long time frame. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We can just dive into the data. So here's 5-year search history on search term trends. So in this case, the top one's IT Help Desk. The bottom is home internet speed. IT Help Desk has been around for a while. It sort of had its peaks and valleys through the 5-year period, but look where it's pegged right now. It's pegged really high up there at the 100 level. So IT Help Desk, we're seeing that come up in conversation more and more. In fact, at the end of the webinar today, we'll really cover IT Help Desk solution that we're seeing take off. It's really amazing the impact it's having on businesses and the way it's taking off with our sales partners. Home internet speed, the same thing. So one of the challenges businesses are having now in real time is how do they account for home internet access? And not only home internet access, but access on your mobile devices, whether it's iPhones or tablets or home PCs. How do they account for that, secure that, and also reimburse for those expenses where appropriate? Go ahead and jump to the next slide. See the same thing here with remote desktop and remote support. So, well, on the bottom, remote support sort of has been around, and maybe that's because it's a little bit of a generic term, remote support. Remote desktop has exploded, virtually non-existent, and then a rocket ship. So we're seeing more and more small business, even enterprise businesses that need, have strap resources, they need to offload some of that with remote desktop. So we'll touch on that a little later, and I'm sure Warren and Dan will cover some of those items in their talk too. So best practices. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So best practices. We're really fortunate to have Dan Sachs and Warren on today. I know Dan's going to jump in right now into some best practices that he's seeing from his interaction with CEOs, many of our enterprise customers, but also our sales partners in the field. Dan, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, buddy. It's all yours.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. Great to be speaking with everyone. I'm Dan Sachs, co-CEO at AppDirect, and thrilled to share some insights that we're seeing across our merchant ecosystem of people who are selling software. So, of course, in the AppSmart community, we have a great breadth of sales partners, many of you on the line that are selling services. But in aggregate, we have an ecosystem that includes Fortune 500 brands including Vodafone, Comcast, Honeywell, ADP, Intuit, many large companies that are looking to promote and sell different types of services. And I spoke to the CEOs of many different enterprises, medium-sized businesses, and then technology advisory groups as well, to really kind of come up with some insights that we can share with you to help guide a framework on how to operate in this work from home environment. Next slide, please. So from these, from hundreds of chats, there were some key themes that companies were doing and individuals were doing that really stood out from the rest. And one of the things that I've seen is that in challenged times or turbulent times, there are those companies that thrive and others that really struggle to survive. And what I noticed is that there are these 5 trends that the thriving companies do, and they do them immediately and rapidly in order to differentiate and thrive. And this is something that you can do today. So a lot of the insights we're sharing on the call, both from the chat with Warren and Tim's insights, are to help you use this framework to navigate the current environment and educate your customers. So really the first thing that I saw being critical is really repositioning your value proposition. So across our partner community, whether it's telecoms manufacturers, technology resellers, VARs, MSPs, everyone needs to recognize that the value prop that they can bring in this new environment can typically shift. And therefore, positioning your value proposition in a clear and concise way is critical. So for example, for many of you who are delivering essential business services and telecom, being able to support with these work from home SaaS tools that go a step beyond what Tim categorized as the basic tools is really critical. And that's what we're sharing here with you today, is what are those essential business services beyond the norm that people are asking for, and how do you position them? So that's the first. The second is really communication. And this is about opening up new types of communication channels. So thinking about rapid communication with your customers. It could be a weekly newsletter. It could be roundtables where you have your customers in small groups via video conferencing and have them coming together. I've seen companies that have created virtual experiences that get their customers online talking and sharing. So I've heard everything from virtual cooking, where you cook together, or a sommelier class, or really education sessions, but really the idea of thinking about new ways to communicate and get really creative about really rapidly communicating with your customers. One-on-ones, roundtables, webinars, big format, anything you can do. The next is really education. So from an education perspective, what we've seen is the critical nature of providing insights and consultative knowledge to your customers of what's going on around the world. And business owners that you talk to are struggling, they're challenged, or even in the event them doing really well, they want to make sure they can focus on their business and not on making sure the technology is right. That's what you're there for. So the more you can educate them on specific services that they can deploy quickly and effectively, and share statistics on how they can succeed, the better off you'll be. The next, and this is why we have our guest Warren here, is the overwhelming kind of theme that I saw in this environment is that as you reposition, communicate, and educate, you need to have an incredible customer experience, and you need to think of the way you're supporting your customers as proactive versus reactive. And Warren's someone throughout his career who's always thought about that in terms of support and created support technologies to help. But what we'll share is some cutting edge support technologies that can really help you shift from being reactive to proactive, and really seeing support not necessarily as a cost center or fielding tickets or challenges, but actually a forum to create trust with your customers, and therefore be able to upsell and really drive more value. And then finally, your ability to sell services to them is critical, and to be there and get them up and running with the services they need and provide that advice. But what we found in this environment is if you do the 4 things before, the selling will come natural. People will trust you. They'll see you as a thought leader and say, okay, how do I buy? And it becomes much less of a discussion. Whereas if people, proactively are just leading with the sale, it's a much more difficult sell in this type of environment because business owners have limited spend. So they first want to understand, how you can help them, how you're helping others, and how you're creating that trust through support and customer relationships. So with that, this is a great framework that you can apply, right after this call. And I'm really excited to invite Warren Leviton, who's now at Zendesk, but has had a multi-decade career in building support technologies. So really excited to have Warren here. Next slide, please, Robert. Great. So in Warren and I's chats, we're really going to talk about the evolution of digital support and digital support channels and how you can use support technology to create this trust and engagement with your customers. Next slide, please. Great. So with that, Warren, it's great to have you here and really grateful for you to be here. Would love for you to share a little bit more about your background in support technology and how you came to be head of platform at Zendesk.
Yeah, it's great to be here. And I think right here, we're already experiencing work from home, obviously live from action. Everyone who's listening here is likely at home. All of us are here distributed at home. And yet we're able to work very, very effectively. And maybe you'll hear some screams in the background while we're talking from other people in the house. But I feel like I've been in the customer experience and support space for almost 20 years, but I had a strange start because it wasn't in the traditional way. I had a company where I was leading strategy where we were selling white label internet security software through telcos, right? And a lot of people on the phone, you might know about, sort of reselling, internet security software through those types of channels. And so that was a business I was in. And so what does that have to do with sort of customer experience is our differentiation was that we had the simplest, easiest to set up and easiest to maintain security software when you compared it against sort of at the time we talked about more bloated versions of the big brands. And, our telco customers, people like Verizon and AT&T and Comcast, why did they care that it was simple? At the end of the day, they cared that it was simple because it prevented them from getting phone calls, right? Of people having to engage with a live agent to say, how do I do this? Or the software isn't downloading. So that was really my first lesson was build the great experience right into the product. But then over time, what I learned is it's not easy. And we live in such an interconnected world, right? With so much different software and so many different devices that are constantly moving that even if you build great experiences into your software, what happens when it interacts with other software or with other products and other devices? And so, in around 2008, I got into, as part of the same business, we launched a technical support platform along with packaged services. And, Dan knows the end of that story quite well, because in 2015, AppDirect acquired that company called RadioPoint. And a lot of those assets are now part of the AppDirect and AppSmart, family in terms of those HelpDesk offerings. And so when I finished sort of that chapter, which starts to bridge into the evolving channels, is, I was deep into this industry, thought a lot about it, and said, what's the future here? What's going to change? And, we were in such a desktop-centric world back then from support, right? Live chat on websites, email, sitting behind a computer. But as consumers, we'd all moved to mobile first. And so, we thought, what does mobile first mean to customer experience? And to us, that ultimately meant messaging. It's the number one way we were using our phones, and it's the fastest growth of how smartphones are used, whether that's like SMS or iMessage, WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, WeChat in China, and Line in Japan. I mean, messaging is how we engage with each other personally. And it's what it's shown is what we've learned is that it's how we want to engage with businesses because it's easy, it's fast, it's convenient, and it's sort of on my terms as a consumer. I don't need to wait in a queue, right? Whether that's on hold on the phone or in a live chat queue. So, we launched a company called Smooch in around 2016. And lo and behold, we sold that to Zendesk last year. And so now I'm happy to work with Zendesk, who, I found such a great home, which was so aligned with my CX values, which was always about easy to use, fast to get up and running, and yet powerful, right? You don't need to make things complex to make them powerful. And so in sort of a nutshell, that's how I tell my story of how I got into the CX world.
That's amazing. And on those 3 points, right? Easy to use, fast, and powerful, but without complex, the complexity. A lot of our technology advisors on the line, want the simple value proposition that they can bring, but oftentimes, things do get complex, and we know that your solution is very robust. How do you advise people to think about taking that, complex, robust, great solution, but really simplify the way you describe it and simplify the sales process?
Yeah, so in general, like one thing I've long believed in is convention over customization, right? I think people want to hear the prescriptive opinion of the experts that are selling to them, right? I think the old, very large enterprise sales approach, which says we can do anything, right? And you have armies of consultants and professional services. That's not how people want to buy. And if you have the credibility and you have the thought leadership, you can be quite prescriptive and help people standardize the way they implement things and really help them eliminate some of the bells and whistles that create that complexity. And again, like I link that back to 2003 when we launched this internet security software company, where we had people like Symantec and Norton competing with us, telling, the telcos, but they don't have this feature, they don't have this feature, they don't have this feature. And, we would say, do you really need that, right? Like we had to set it and forget it, protect the consumer. And we were going after 80% of the bell curve, right? Where people don't care, right? They just want it to work. And the ability to adopt it easily is way more important than solving for every single use case.
Yeah, that easy adoption, I think, is really key. And particularly in this environment, what we found is that businesses might have like a year-long or 2-year-long roadmap for digital transformation, or some small businesses may just never want to use it. But I was talking actually to a partner of ours in Switzerland, and they offer web hosting. And they said, maybe 5% of retailers in Switzerland had, a web store, even this year, which is far less than anywhere else, in North America. But they said, when you talk about digital transformation, like 90% of retailers in Switzerland within that week, like needed to figure out how to adopt, and the services that got adopted were the ones that were easy. So that's where that easy to adopt needs to happen and fast.
Yeah, no, and I think that, this has been a trend we've seen, I believed in for a long time, and I think it's only going to accelerate. Digital transformation projects don't need to be the multi-year projects. You can get it off the ground fast as long as you've got the right technology that's ready to go.
That's great. And, in your role of Zendesk, a really leading platform, I know you have this vision for a conversation-centric CRM. And I talked about how, support is becoming proactive, and you also talked about the insights that you can provide to create that trust. What does that mean for people, and what's your vision for this customer-centric support model?
So it's really not complicated, but it doesn't mean it's easy on the back end for companies like Zendesk to build it. But at the end goal, it should be quite logical and simple for people who have to consume it. So when we think about we're trying to deliver great customer experiences, forget the business adoption, and we now think about the end user, right? Who's interacting with the business, and we think, okay, what ultimately leads to a great customer experience? And I can boil it down in all my experience and all my years, and frankly, I don't think it's changed. I think some of the specifics have changed, but not the general rules. So number one is you have to know your customer, right? Is that when a customer reaches out and they've contacted you, if you don't know who they are, right? I call an airline and I say, I need to change my reservation. And they say, what's your reservation number? For God's sake, like, you can't tell me my own reservation number? It's your reservation number that you have given me. If you have already authenticated me and you know who I am, why ask me for that? Now, if I have two, great. You could say to me, Warren, are you talking about your trip to New York? Or are you talking about your trip to San Francisco, right? But show me that you know me. And so the complexity that we have there is businesses have heterogeneous IT environments, right? Or even small businesses, they might have one platform or software they use for sales and one platform they use for support. And so we need to connect the data on the back end, right? And companies like Zendesk, like we have a Sunshine, what we call our Sunshine data platform, that allows our customers to seamlessly connect data across their different cloud services, right? So that you just break down the siloed data. So I'd say that's sort of the essential number one. So we make it easy. It does have complexity in the back end, but we make it easy for the business. But you need to know your customer, which means you need to have all that data front and center. Second thing is you need to be where your customers are and where they want to be, right? I love an old story where Walgreens used to open up, retailers right across the street from each other, right? And you think, why would Walgreens have two stores across the street? And it's like, customers can be lazy, right? They don't even want to cross the street. They want you to come to them, right? And so today for us, this brings us to sort of that messaging theme that we moved to on Smooch is customers are on messaging. It's the easiest channel. It's the most convenient channel. Like most people freaking hate email, right? And the last thing we want to do is be stuck on hold. So businesses need to come to messaging, right? And again, there's so many messaging channels though. I take Four Seasons, who's a customer of ours. They have over 100 properties around the entire world. In China, messaging means WeChat. In Japan, it means Line. In the US, it means iMessage or Facebook Messenger. In Latin America and a lot of the world, it means WhatsApp, right? Like there's Twitter direct messaging, Instagram direct messaging is going to come. So it could be really complex for a business to be in all these places, but we take our software, we pre-integrate with all of them, and we make it seamless. So using a Zendesk product, it doesn't matter if it's email, Facebook, or SMS, every conversation is the same. And if a customer changes which channel they're on, which they can, because I can see a product on Instagram, and you can tell by my age here, I probably do a lot of Instagram shopping, right? But if I have a question, I might just DM right there, right? Because that's where I am and it's convenient for me. But then I get this package and there's a problem. Do I go back to Instagram? No, because Instagram isn't the tool that I use, right? I use WhatsApp or iMessage, right? And so I'm just going to go there and want to message that business. And so, but the agent should see those two conversations as one. So that's what we solve with our Sunshine Conversations platform, right? So we have to know our customer and have their data, but the problem is it exists all over the business. So we need a platform to unify that. We have conversations that are taking place in all these new places like messaging. We use our Sunshine Conversations platform to unify that. And then the third key ingredient, once you've done those two, is help the business make it scalable, right? Customers, reaching out, the more convenient it becomes, the easier it is to reach out. And customers have become a little bit more lazy, we know, right? Going to self-help, go to self-service and look up self-help. And what's amazing is we have automation technology in the form of bots today. And businesses shouldn't be intimidated by chatbots today. They're just automated self-help, right? Like the technology, it doesn't need to be this crazy advanced AI. And again, what software providers like Zendesk do, what we need to do is simplify that down. So you can have a ready-to-go bot that's integrated with your help center, or that you can have a drag and drop UI and manage a conversation just like an agent script would be. Hi, why are you contacting us today? Right? Technical support, billing issue, or this, right? And then if you can connect to your billing systems and give someone a balance or connect to a payment platform to pay a bill, like all of these things are very possible today. And so ultimately, that's what we're trying to do to augment the Zendesk experiences through platform is, connecting data, connecting conversations, and connecting automation, because there are so many bot providers in the world. We don't need, we can bring our own technology, but we have an ecosystem of, dozens of bots to bear. So I think those three things are key drivers of great experiences today for end users.
Got it. And obviously, Zendesk is one of the most successful SaaS companies around, and they've really pioneered the concept of customer experience and support. But there's a potential perception that only big companies can use Zendesk. I know we use it; it's super easy. But if you're a smaller business, how do you gain value from the features, and how do you get started?
Yeah, so I mean that's the number one selling point, actually. I mean, our roots are in a self-serve platform, right? For micro small businesses, and I think your comment on Zendesk success is actually related to us being easy for small business. So yeah, we can say today that Uber is an amazing customer of ours. We can say that Instacart is an amazing customer of ours. Peloton, like Zoom, is an incredible customer of ours. But guess what? All of these customers started with 2 seats, 3 seats, 4 seats. They went onto our website, someone put in a credit card, and you've all got it in your marketplaces, right? Where users can go in, put in their credit card, pick a number of seats, log in, self-help tutorial videos, live agent, customer success agents, if you need extra help. So yes, there's a lot of power there, but it's pre-packaged for you. Again, this notion of convention where we're implementing those best practices. And if somebody wants something super configured and super customized, yeah, guess what? We expose that too, but we expose it because it's our own technology architecture. It's how we build on top of it. We're not trying to guide people towards complexity. We're trying to actually encourage them to use the convention. But if they feel their business is that different and they want to customize, then they have that option. But that's the exception, not the rule.
Got it. Super helpful. And then I know that Zendesk recently put out an insights report based on the work from home and COVID, current market environment. What are some of the trends that you're seeing?
Increases in volume. People are reaching out to the businesses that they rely on more than ever, right, on a remote basis. So, across the board, we have an average March versus February was an average lift, I think, across the business for tickets, right? So cases of 13%. But if you look at messaging, right, is really interesting of where adoption is, because those tickets are heavily going into, are heavily based on email. But then we have messaging interactions that might be very short, quick, not be registered as a ticket, 45% increase March over February. We have got people in the travel industry which have seen 8x increases, right? People like Instacart doing grocery delivery, right? Like a multi-factor increase over their previous volume. And another great benefit of SaaS software is, as a business, you don't need to worry about the scalability underneath it, right? Because that's taken care of by the technology company. You don't need to add servers. You don't need to worry about these things. You can self-provision seats if you need more seats, and you can bring in bots to help you deflect volume and answer frequently asked questions, because then people whip together very specific bots to answer, in this crisis. People's questions were all very similar to businesses, but they just came right like this. And so building quick little bots to handle those questions was a huge way to deflect the wait times, really, and get the questions answered.
Wow. It's interesting to see how clearly you guys are thriving and due to all that activity. So just coming back to this concept of customer or conversation centric support and CRM, one of the things that I observed from all these chats that I had was that the education and the communication and the way that you use support to frequently communicate is so important. You talked about messaging and chatbots and that frequency. Do you typically see people waiting for there's a problem and then starting the chats and conversations? Or are there other ways of using Zendesk to proactively trigger conversations either through bots or personals?
Yeah, so the truth is most of Zendesk's roots are in the consumer-led, right? But through our platform now, we have the ability of sort of like we call these notification APIs that we connect to other systems. And where we're changing the game and where we think, again, is just a huge impact on customer experience is The traditional notifications we're all used to are the ones you can't reply to, right? So it's like you get this blast from marketing, and then it's like, click here, right? And you have to go somewhere else to the website. Or you get a boarding pass from an airline, right? And think about that motto, and it's like, if I have a problem, can I reply to that boarding pass email? Of course not. Like, that's, in people's minds, that's a separate system. But at Zendesk, we're trying to unify these conversations. So what we do is we have triggers now to be able to send things like shipping receipts or shipping notifications when a product is left, or if it's delayed, a notification again for your boarding pass. And then what we do is, and those can go to WhatsApp, those can go to Facebook, those can go to SMS. But unlike other platforms, because we have it connected, right, to the customer service platform, we let people reply, right? So imagine the scenario where, again, I'll use flying because, like, I think I'm just dreaming about being able to fly again, right? Where, I've got this epic trip, that I want to get to Hawaii, right? And I've got to fly through LA from the East Coast. And all's going well. I checked in. I got a notification on WhatsApp that tells me my flight's ready for check-in. And right there, I've got buttons, I've got forms, I can do everything I need to. I don't need to go to the website. I don't need to download the airline's app. Right there in the conversation, I can check in. I get my boarding pass. It's in the conversation. Now I end up getting to LAX and we're like circling and circling and circling, and I miss my connection. So I land, I can just reply to that thread that I'm on and say, hey, missed my connection. United has all my context. They know who I am. They know what flight I was on. They can put a bot in there that can detect this intent, knows I've missed my flight, and serve up, right? Because of course this is a frequent use case. So they can just know missed connection, right? What percentage of United calls are missed connections? Perfect. Serve up the alternative flights no differently than an agent would on the phone, right? Except for instead of the agent searching, you just have a bot doing the search. So great. I get my options there. I click, I confirm my flight, I'm all set. Now I need to check into that flight to get a boarding pass. Maybe I get hung up along the way, and I can't pick my seat. Escalate to an agent. That agent can jump into the conversation because it's all connected. But there's a classic conversation-centric experience, which is bringing, the airline systems to me instead of me going to its systems, like on the web, or have to call them.
Wow. Well, powerful example. Warren, thank you so much. It was so insightful and really great to see what you're doing at Zendesk and kind of pushing the future forward for support technology. And for all the technology advisors on the line, great insights here of how you can immediately take an easy value proposition, get quick adoption, and grow. Thanks again, Warren.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks to both of you. I took a bunch of notes. You guys probably saw my head dipped down. I wasn't typing or texting. I was actually taking notes. I'm going to give you two big takeaways, then we'll move on to the next slide. Give you some action-packed items that you can take into the field as soon as you jump off the call. But my two big takeaways from Dan, number one, was educate. So I think you all do a great job of this. I have a friend who's a landscaper, for example, and his goal is that he is the obvious expert for all his clients for anything that's related to the outdoors at their house. The same should apply to you. You should be the go-to for education with your clients as well as just sales. So they won't always be thinking that you're selling them. They'll be thinking that you're educating them. You're telling them stories. You're sharing with them best practices and success examples. You become the obvious expert. Number two was from Warren. I think it's really important. I might take it out of context a little bit, but really know your customer. Warren said, show me that you know me. I wrote it down in quotes because I think it's really salient. You guys should all write it in your notes. Show me that you know me. Sometimes we think we know people and we might know them really well, but we don't show that you know them. So there's great ways to show that you know your customer, and that is to give them pieces of data that you learned about them to help solve their problems today. So maybe something from your notes a month ago that you didn't bring up because you didn't want to seem salesy. Today you could bring up as being a helpful part of their business. So show them that you know them. Write them a handwritten letter. Thank them for being a client. Let them know that you took notes during a meeting. Maybe you don't write this specifically, but you say, hey, Mr. Big, thanks for being a special client of Unique Solutions Company. I remember our last meeting when you mentioned this. If you ever need help, I'm here for you, or I stand ready to help. Letters, notes, sometimes they bode better than an email or a text. All right, let's move on to some quick things and then we'll wrap up the call. I have about, I don't know, 50 or 60 more slides. I'm just kidding, just a few more. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We'll talk a little bit about, there's that picture again, oh boy. All right, so what are the obvious solutions? Look, most of you guys know that G Suite and Office 365 dominate the landscape. You can look at the data on both sides of the chart in front of you. You can see how Google Meet has really, it was totally flatlined. Now it's off the charts. I use Google Meet some days. I counted last week, one day I was on Google Meets for 8.2 hours. 8.2 hours of my day, plus some Zooms. So Google Meets are definitely encroaching on the Zoom and Team space. We have both solutions available at AppSmart. One thing that's really important for your notes is that your customers are using these solutions today, and they're not using them via the AppSmart platform. By moving them into the AppSmart marketplace instance, not only does it become a commissionable event for you, but it also becomes a way for you to provide more service to your end user clients. And also it becomes a way for them to consolidate more apps into the marketplace and have a better overall experience. So obvious, think about G Suite, Microsoft. If you see those, think AppSmart. Next slide. So what are you missing? What's the Trojan horse into the business? I made some jokes about this slide with the team when we were prepping for it, but really they make a good point, which is what are the things you can bring up in the education part that Dan talked about, where you're educating and becoming that obvious expert. Let's dive into that. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So number one, remote support. You saw that in one of the first slides I brought up. The early data shows that people are looking for remote support. So one of the things that AppSmart brings to you as our advisors is really exclusive to AppSmart. It's a product we have called Business Cloud HelpDesk. It's an IT help desk solution. It's used by over 5 million customers throughout the United States. We have a 93% customer satisfaction rating and 96% first call resolution and a 3x spiff. But wait, there's more. No, just kidding. Go to the next slide. I want to get into the details on this a little bit. Website. So as we go through this, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I want to be cognizant of your time. Website is built so you can show your customers. If they contact us, we'll relay that information back to you if you're registered with us. We want to make sure that you always know that we only sell services through the channel. And this Cloud Help Desk product right now is really, go ahead and go to the next slide, is really important for a few reasons. Several reasons include the cost of just maintaining support for help desk. Many of the businesses that you guys sell, they don't have a full-time IT team. They have an outsourced team or an MSP they lean on. And we understand that's a big part of their business. That might even be part of your business. In fact, some MSPs that are using AppSmart are using this to augment some of the surge that they've seen today in their business. So we want to be able to fix IT problems remotely. We want 24/7, 365. But what IT problems are we helping with remote cloud, with Business Cloud Help Desk? Go ahead and go to the next slide. So what's really unique about this product right now is when people typically think about remote support, they think laptops, desk phones, maybe point of sale. But really what we're seeing is a whole new unique cohort or cohorts of support that we're offering. Software support, peripherals, my home printer's behind me, home printer can't work. I compete at home with 3 other people who are going to college, going to high school, doing Zoom workouts, doing FaceTime. So how do you manage that home bandwidth needs? How do you manage all the devices that you weren't managing before? How do you manage those? Business Cloud Help Desk helps your clients augment that and serve their employees in a unique way. So not only does it help the company operate better, but it helps with employee satisfaction. We're even seeing more and more calls and requests around security, malware. I mean, think of the amount of devices that need to be supported compared to just a traditional laptop or desktop. So keep that in mind as you advance with AppSmart. Go ahead and move to the next slide. So what do you guys get? We're going to have a whole series of webinars on this, but 3x spiff, approximately 24% of the monthly MRR on a residual basis. So upfront plus residual commissions, plus you're going to help your clients. Go ahead and move to the next slide. And one thing that's really an AppSmart advantage to you as our technology advisors is our marketing team is working really hard all the time for you to create done-for-you marketing materials. Around this product, there's a whole deck available, whether that's battle cards, brochures, email scripts. Many things are available for you to be able to utilize to go to market with. So make sure that you reach out to your AppSmart team to get your hands on the marketing materials that are available. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. Okay, so again, technology, as far as Business Cloud Help Desk, partners get details are available in our learning campus. Customers get details in the marketplace. Again, we're going to have many opportunities for you to learn, and also your channel manager, your inside channel manager, they all have this information that is ready and available for you. I realize I'm going a little bit fast. I see some comments in the chat. I want to make sure I respect your time, but give you enough information to take action on after we get off this call. So go ahead and advance. All right, Zendesk for remote support. Look, you heard a lot from Warren. Zendesk has an amazing tool that's scalable. You heard some of their biggest clients started with just 2 seats. So whether your customer is a small to medium-sized business or a big enterprise, Zendesk is just becoming the obvious choice. It's becoming, like Kleenex, right? Zendesk is for support, for remote support. So make sure that you're leveraging AppSmart for our expertise around Zendesk, our relationship with Zendesk, the integration that is available on Zendesk with your current applications. That's right, I did say your current applications, because many of you are probably not using a tool like this, and you could even benefit from Zendesk, but also your customers, cross-channel, fully integrated APIs. It's just an amazing tool to monitor performance, customer satisfaction, and really increase your team's productivity. Go ahead and advance. Okay, number 2, UCaaS and CCaaS. Look, I completely understand that most of you are very familiar with Unified Communications as a Service, with Contact Center as a Service, but here's what's really important about this. Having product knowledge is important. Telling your clients about products is great, but stories, again, back to show your customer that you know them. Stories will help accelerate your momentum with these products and also help you really advance the solutions to solve for business needs. So very simple things. Right now, we're seeing a big surge in carry out and delivery, right? So think about this example. There's a pizza delivery or a restaurant delivery, and what happens when a call comes in, but the call's not answered? Well, if you have one of these platforms, whether maybe it's a RingCentral platform, you can see that the call was missed, and you can call somebody back immediately. Someone can work abandoned calls, and you'll see sales go up and customer satisfaction go up. So you look at the search term history here for 8x8 and RingCentral, again, off the charts. So you know your clients are searching for these products. Make sure that you're the first brand that comes to mind when they're searching for not just 8x8, not just RingCentral, and they're certainly not searching for UCaaS. They're thinking about business phone systems. They're thinking about remote business phone systems, other trends that we didn't have time to show the data on. Go ahead and go to the next slide. See, now they're prompting me along. They're moving faster, but that's okay. So monitoring. ProtoScore is an amazing tool. We actually use it at AppSmart. Many of you guys are selling it. It monitors across Office 365 and across G Suite. It's a productivity monitoring tool. So right now, there's a lot of managers, a lot of business owners that are wondering what the heck's going on in their business all day. This is a great point, click, get it set up, and see a dashboard every day of what's going on in your business real time. Emails sent, emails received, phone calls, chats, meeting, calendaring, and it scores everybody. It's really a unique way to gamify the workload that is going on in your company. And we're seeing more and more of our advisors really gravitate towards a solution. And also there's a unique thing that's happening with ProtoScore. There's a whisper down the lane where people are actually showing this tool because birds of a feather flock together. Other owners are saying, hey, what are you doing during this time? And what they're talking about is how they're using UCAS. But one of the other things they're talking about is how they're using ProtoScore to manage employee activity. All right, jump to the next slide. Expense monitoring. So I touched on this at the top of the call, and we're seeing more and more people want to monitor. Before we just monitored what's the total cost. So mobile device management, important piece, right? But now we're seeing where a company is saying, okay, we'll give you a certain amount of money for internet reimbursement. As you can see by the data below, this is a common search term, internet reimbursement. So with this wireless analytics tool, you're able to monitor what your employees' usage is on their mobile device, on their desktop device, and you can keep compliant, but also you can reimburse a fair amount of the expense for the service that your employees are using. It's a very impressive solution. And please, I know you're probably taking notes, you're having a customer pop into your mind as I'm talking about these things. I'm telling you, this is a great product. We're seeing a lot of traction here. Go ahead and move to the next slide. E-signature, both DocuSign and Adobe are available in the marketplace. Big brands, you guys know these solutions. In fact, I bet that most of you use them. There's been a couple success stories specifically around DocuSign with our advisor community. In fact, an advisor out in the west part of the United States, onboarded a customer who was a big Microsoft Office user. They onboarded that customer, made it a commissionable event, showed them the value of the marketplace. But through that, the customer also noticed that DocuSign was available, and they were able to sign a very significant DocuSign deal because DocuSign was available through AppSmart, single pane of glass. That tile sits right next to their Office 365 tile. Really amazing story from the field. So if you need this e-signature software for your team, remember to think AppSmart. Clearly, it's becoming harder right now, especially in the financial services industry. You're seeing it, mortgage, lending of all types, even in our business where wet signatures just aren't available. So we have to do digital signature, and this is a great way to facilitate that. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. VPN, again, VPN search data, you see it here. The VPN data is off the charts. Most of you guys have an understanding of VPN. If you don't, reach out to us. One of the sort of top of charts that we see in the marketplace right now is OpenVPN. So go ahead and reach out to us regarding OpenVPN and its unique ability to help you manage regulated environments, particularly PCI, HIPAA compliance. It's very simple to deploy. It is great for your clients. Next slide, please. All SaaS products are ideal for remote work. Look, we're stating the obvious here, but at the end of the day, our portfolio is built to help your customers manage all the aspects of their business, from simple office productivity to cloud backup, app security, CRM, and more. My first call of the day today was around a Microsoft Dynamics solution and for a multi-location company where they were considering going a different direction, but after they saw the power of the AppSmart marketplace, I think it just makes sense to them. We don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, right? But I think it just makes sense to them that AppSmart and our technology advisor in the field stands out in the crowd versus just a standard off-the-shelf dynamic solution. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So here we are, the last slide. If you made it here, you probably have at least a page of notes. Some idea, I see the chat's filling up. I'll try to answer a couple of these questions. The video will be made available. Yes, we will have a video available. We can put together some search data for you. Maybe we publish that from the marketing team about the hot terms. I think that's a good idea for a one-pager. Just checking all the chats that are out here. Okay, here's the thing. I want to wrap up with something that's really important. Use, show, sell, grow. I get a chance, and Brian Babbage, our director of sales, our other field channel managers, our sales desk, we get to interact with you guys on a daily basis. And let me tell you the number one thing that's creating momentum around the marketplace, around software solutions, SaaS solutions, and really helping our advisors who are embracing this accelerate their success. Number one, you guys have to use it. So move your G Suite, move your Microsoft Office, move those things to our platform. Try it, use it, you'll like it. You'll be able to show how you use it to your clients. When they see it, they'll believe it. You guys get it, right? When I see it, I'll believe it. So you'll see it, you'll believe it. When you show it, your clients will see it, they'll believe it, they'll ask you for it. There's no selling involved. They see what the power of the marketplace is. They see the power of their ability to manage all their apps in one place. So you show, sell, grow. Grow your business, grow the customer satisfaction with your clients, exceed their expectations. We stand ready to help you as you advance your business. We know that there's some different challenges you're facing, and we have your back. We're here to help, and we're ready to get things going with you in any way that you need us to help us. So make sure you engage with us. Reach out to the AppSmart partner that invited you to call today, or reach out to us online via one of our many social channels. We appreciate you. Take care and make it a great day.